Aloha everyone, Michelle Melendez with StandTogetherHawaii.com, and I'm doing a video on updating you on the whole Maui Fires, as well as sharing some information that you're not going to hear from the mainstream narrative, as well as action steps that we as people here who love these Hawaii islands, and even if you are not living on the islands of Hawaii, but you love Hawaii and you love the feeling and the spirit of aloha, the actions we can take that contacting our representatives on this state and the senators, as well as Governor Green, telling them that we do not comply with the mainstream narrative, that what they're saying as a natural occurrence with just the Dora hurricane winds is normal, that burning boats on the ocean is a normal thing that a wildfire can do. I'm going to show you guys where that's coming from, how that could happen, and as well as they're also going to claim that this is climate change. It's because of climate change. I'm going to give you 3 different scientists, MIT engineer, a professor from the University of Melbourne, 2 geologists that actually show, even I'm going to show you a graph that shows you the CO2, where the CO2 is right now, and that if it gets any lower, that it could potentially harm human life. So we do not want to lower CO2. CO2 actually is what plants breathe that then give us oxygen to breathe. So I'm going to share that with you, and then at the very end I'm going to share with you who to contact. I think I already said that. The representatives, the senator, and Governor Green, that we do not comply with the narrative, and we demand that they look deeper into this, and that they look into direct energy weapons. And my heart is just sunk thinking about Maui. I have a relative who was married on Maui, and Maui, they say that the Hawaii Islands, we have chakras. The different islands are chakras, and the big island is the root chakra, safety. It's got Pele, and it's the red, it's fire, and that's all root. Maui is the, this is my phone, Maui is the heart chakra. Maui is the heart chakra of all the Hawaii Islands. Kauai is the crown, Oahu is the throat. And just thinking about this makes my blood boil and got chicken skin all over right now. But this information needs to come out, and so here we go. I'm going to share with you a person, and I'm gonna do a video on my laptop. So right now I'm filming on my iPad, and I'm gonna be flipping it around and do some magic with iMovie to fix the editing. But anyway, here is a local woman who is in Maui right now, who lives on near Lahaina.
I'm Raylene and located in Maui. I live in Kihei, and I wanted to share some local updates, shocking or maybe not. About the fires, did you hear that the government of Hawaii states their goal is to rebuild and make the entire island of Maui the first smart island? They want the entire island governed by AI, is outlined in the Hawaii Digital Government Summit of 2023 that they plan to host next month on September 25th, 2023 on Maui. Wow! Now they're going to come to the rescue for this horrible problem. And last January in 2023, there was a Smart City Conference in Maui to turn Maui, again, into the Smart City Island, pushing everything electric, making 15-minute smart cities. And there was also a contract last year to build a high-rise condo complex and businesses in Lahaina, which is a historic town that couldn't have any new development in this area. But now it's demolished, so now I guess they have to rebuild, right?
I wanted to pause there because I want to go to Governor Green, and I have my notes here. So I want to show you what Governor Green has to say about this. So I wanted to start there because I wanted to tell people are going, well, why? Why, Michelle? Why would they do this? She just gave you why. She just told you that smart cities, the 15-minute cities, the electric. Do you know if everybody had electric cars and the grid goes down, we would have nothing. And I'm not going to be on my soapbox about that because I can change this whole thing into a whole different video, but I'm not going to do that. So let's go to Governor Green.
With us, Governor Josh Green, and now you just told me that you do have the latest for us as far as people going back to their homes on Maui.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for the coverage. Mayor Bisson and his team have been working all night long, putting together the plan with us to get people back to their homes. So they will announce today the capacity for people to, in a controlled fashion, go back to their homes. There will likely be a curfew, but we know how badly people want to get back to the extent that their homes are still there. Now, originally we thought it was just a couple hundred structures burned. As you know, there are many more than that. The estimates will continue to rise. People, in many cases, will find tragically that their home was destroyed. So our hearts are out for people. Our love is out for people who lost loved ones. We're being careful about the return to properties because we want to be sensitive to what they will see. We're also being careful because there's just so much uncertainty and questions in the air because there's very little communication. The communication systems were destroyed. So people will be able to get back to their houses today, and meanwhile, we will do all that we can to continue search and rescue.
So FEMA, now they're going to be helping with going into some of the buildings because I know that people are concerned about how many people have perished throughout this, and I know getting in is kind of a very treacherous situation.
It is. So the benefit of our relationships with Washington are that we had FEMA here on the scene immediately. Bob Fenton has been extraordinary, and his team are bringing in additional resources as we speak, flying in overnight. Also, the FEMA director will be here tomorrow, and I will be with her touring the damage again on Maui tomorrow, likely with the other leaders, including the mayor. So we will have all the leadership from the top on down here. But
Okay, so he talked about FEMA. I'm gonna go back to I think her name is Raylyn from Roots Restored Wellness, and I want her to tell you guys what FEMA is doing in Maui.
There's so much going on. There's people who need assistance. We went to the War Memorial Shelter, which we learned has been taken over by FEMA. They've taken a whole bunch of supplies. People do not know where they're going. They don't trust that they're actually going to be delivered to people in need. In past FEMA situations, after disasters, they found containers full of supplies that were never given to the people. And if you go to the War Memorial, people are being told to go there if you need assistance. They are turning everyone away, saying that it's not a distribution center. It's a shelter, and unless you're checked into this shelter, you will receive nothing. And I will say for donations on the island, please be considerate of your fellow humans, because there's a lot of moms that need diapers and wipes and formula, and everything has been purchased and given as donations, and now it is being hoarded by Red Cross and FEMA, not being distributed to those who actually need them. So ship things in from Amazon. I shared today that you could ship things to the Maui Food Bank. There's some other local organizations that will actually get your items to the people. And FEMA is also making people sign paperwork just to receive assistance. We did find through local word of mouth a place where we could donate our time today, and we assisted the Hungry Heroes of Hawaii at Buzz's Wharf in Ma'alia. I said that right. Great place. If you need donations or if you have some to drop off, you can. It's a staging area right before the road is shut down to get into the Lahaina area. They were not allowing anyone through unless you had, if you had a supply truck full of supplies to help the people in these areas, you were not allowed through unless you had a specific contract or permission from a certain agency to come through. And where would you get that permission from? So lots of people are being denied. They're trying to come in with supply trucks to assist. This Hungry Heroes, they were able to get some trucks in yesterday. They were supposed to meet with the mayor and officials. They said they waited around for 5 hours being told to move to different locations, and then they were eventually kicked out and said, why are you even here? And they were trying to coordinate to drop off and deliver supplies. And they can get to the supplies, but there's nowhere to drop them off or give them to anybody because everything is so disorganized. They also brought 150 meals, cooked meals, to help the people who need them. And they were denied because it was not cooked in a commercial kitchen. So not being allowed to distribute. All the roads in and out of Lahaina are blocked except for specific personnel, and it's up in the air. We don't know anymore maybe if you're a resident with an ID. That was open yesterday and they supposedly shut it back down after a few hours because people were trying to take photos of the damage that happened in Lahaina. Heaven forbid that they go to their houses and do anything. There are boats making supply runs. Some of them are saying that they've had to push through barricades to get in and deliver supplies because, again, the government officials are trying to shut down local assistance. It seems like they only want FEMA and they only want the Red Cross. Yet, when you talk to people on the ground, where's FEMA? Where's Red Cross? They're not doing anything. They're not distributing the supplies. I did hear that there are supplies on the ground in Lahaina finally. There are some locals who set up Starlink stations so that they could get back online. Power's been out, water's out. They haven't had internet. And so they're starting to bring in some Starlink so people can get back online. They're bringing in supplies. People are able to access some food. Again, not a lot of information coming out of that area yet. There's, again, some people, you might be able to find other videos of exact footage. We talked to some people today, and a firefighter said that he alone pulled out over 80 bodies. And I think that's the count that they're giving you for the death toll. We're estimating that it's over 1,000 people. That's horrific. Why is the government being so hush-hush and shutting everything down and not letting people know what's really going on?
That's what I'm talking about. This is the most devastating disaster ever in the history of these islands. And there's more I'm going to share. So let's all just keep breathing. And I'm also going to share some hope at the end of, again, what we can do and the fact that we have to remember that I'm just going to keep sharing because I don't have any words right now. What I'm going to share next is Congresswoman Jill Takada, and she is being interviewed by KITV Weather, and I want you to notice that she doesn't answer the questions that he's asking. Notice where she's leading the conversation.
United States Representative Jill Takada of Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District joins us now. Congresswoman, great to have you with us here on Fox Weather, but these scenes have been awful coming in from the last 24 hours. Heartbreaking scenes where we've seen entire communities being destroyed. What's the action happening right now in the fight against these wildfires?
Well, Ian, it has been absolutely heart-wrenching, devastating for us to watch, our home literally being destroyed. We haven't seen something like this since Hurricane Iniki that took out the island of Kauai. And when we saw pictures as daylight was emerging today, just the massive devastation of a place that we love, where so many of our memories are created. And it really has been a full force effect in terms of making sure that we do everything we can to support the residents there. As you said, the Coast Guard literally pulling people out of the ocean that were fleeing there from safety, from the flames that were coming up. I spoke a little while ago with Secretary Mayorkas. He's pledged the full support of all of his agencies to make sure we get the help that we need. FEMA already coming in with more firefighting support. That has made such a difference for us to know that we are going to go forward with the federal government's support, standing side by side as state, county government, everyone, the private sector. We pull together in Hawaii. We are Ohana, but we need a lot of help right now. This is going to be something that will require a lot of work for quite some time going forward.
Yes.
So she doesn't answer the question because he asked, what action are you taking? She never, she goes at the end, we've contacted FEMA. But it's like she just. Let's watch the second part. 219. So let me go to 219.
Any new information on the containment efforts as well as some of the structures? I did see, thankfully, no reports of any lives lost, but there were numerous injuries.
Absolutely. We are all just praying and hoping today that we don't have loss of life. But we do know, sadly, that it is going to be an effort to go through the rubble of what was left of so many homes, so many businesses, public areas, to make sure that there is no one out there that needs immediate emergency help. And as you've probably heard, our hospitals have been overwhelmed. We have had to fly life flights to Honolulu for people that were in critical condition. So we are still sending all of our prayers and our love to every single person there. And we're praying we don't find any casualties amongst the rubble, but we know that the fire was swift. This was in the dead of night. Much of this happened, and so some individuals sadly may not have made it out of their homes.
So she didn't answer the question of what are you doing? What are you doing? Not that you're contacting the FEMA and the government agencies to get money so that they're going to partner with you. FEMA is going to partner with Hawaii. What does that mean when the federal government comes in and starts to partner with a state? It means that there's going to be a lot of federal rules and hoops to jump through, and land grabbing, which is what my beautiful colleague, sister friend, Lavana Loma, who I'm also going to share some of her video on this video, what she has to say about all of this. But then they ask her what new containment, what new information on containment, she still doesn't answer that question. She's talking about fear, devastation, all of the stuff, but she's not answering the questions that he's asking her. Why is that? So I want to go back to Governor Green because talking about the evacuation order, and then I want to go back to Roots Restored Wellness. So let me do that.
Say that the evacuation orders came too late. What about that, their response to that?
It's very difficult to guess at when the evacuation order could be made. Already, the mayor has clearly shared with us that at the hotels, people were told to stay in place because they didn't want to burden the roads as firefighters were coming in and police were coming in. That was an order that was made. Then the fire broke out in the late night, and my understanding is in Ahupua'a, as you go from mountain to sea, with 80-mile-per-hour gusted winds, it moved the fire very quickly. I would never blame or disparage anyone during these kind of moments of tragedy. Everyone did their very best to try to rescue people. In time, we'll look at all of these things and continue to try to improve. But this was the largest fire in an era where you have global warming, dried conditions, in other words, droughts, and then a storm that passed very far south of the islands but did leave residual winds. It was a perfect storm in that sense, that a small amount of fire spread quickly because of wind.
And now I want to go back to Roots Restored Wellness and have her share. But I want you to notice what he said, global warming. He's talking about, global warming. We're going to be looking at that in a moment. But we want to hear what Raylene has to say. Let's see here. 6:10.
Even though we have tsunami warning systems set up all over the island, they could have been turned on, but they weren't. And there was a fire in Lahaina in the morning. The firefighters put it out and said it was 100% out. Well, from reports, they're saying that was a fire that restarted itself and ended up taking out the entire city. Interestingly, the McDonald's and Burger King and Safeway and Walgreens are all still standing, but all the historic buildings, all the historic downtown, all of it is demolished and all the houses gone. But those commercial big box stores are still there. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the response. As a resident of Kihei, on Tuesday night, we could see the fire burning in.
Okay, I want to pause there, and I want to start her again at talking a little bit about toward the end, 7:51. But yeah, Hawaii has the best emergency evacuation for tsunamis in the world, and no warning was put on. They even had, when that nuclear bomb, I don't know if you guys remember, the nuclear bomb is everybody's cell phones going off. There's a nuclear bomb coming to Hawaii, find shelter. You know, my sister was here, and they didn't even do that. They did nothing, zero.
A horrific situation. So what we're being told on the news is not what's actually happening. I feel like from every angle, the government is doing everything they can to shut down all grassroots efforts and all of the locals' efforts to assist in any way, shape, or form, coming up with all these excuses why we can't help. And people in the community are coming together. They're amazing here. They love their neighbors. They're doing everything they can. And then it's red tape, red tape, red tape, all this bureaucracy going on, all of these other ulterior motives. Everybody's worried about, the government's worried about getting FEMA funding. And also be on alert. If you sign your property over to FEMA, you may never get it back. Look at what has happened to past disasters. It is a huge scam. Yes, they're going to give you money, and then will you ever be able to get your property or rebuild or anything? It is questionable. And
So yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. When the federal government gets involved in emergencies, it's like they're going to FEMA and they have to sign paperwork before they give them help. What is in that paperwork? It's sad to think about. And I know that people go, oh, Michelle, you're just a conspiracy theorist. When do you start to ask questions? When do you ask questions? Did you know, and I'm going to do a whole nother video on the history of the United States, but did you know that in 1779, we were in debt? Because of the Civil War, we were so much in debt that we borrowed money from foreign banks, and that money never has been repaid. And that is why that's a whole different story. I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just asking you, when do you ask questions? Because I will be doing a video on understanding the history of the United States. That'll be later. So I'm going to go now. We're almost there. Hold on with me, you guys. I'm going to go to my most amazing sister friend in Kauai, Labana Loma, who's the founder of For Our Rights, and she's going to be sharing some amazing information and insights.
I want to share with you guys what these weapons look like, and these are the drones. And this is a video compilation.
She's talking about direct energy weapons, DEW, and yes.
Here that will show some of the pictures also that we have seen from other instances of this happening around the world. And the video sound doesn't work very well, but see, here we have some more evidence of these directed beams coming out of the sky. I think that was from there was a volcano that erupted shortly after that, and there was another one there. And it's not something that we've not seen before. And so I shared a picture that somebody had told me came from Maui, that someone had took on Maui. I'm still trying to verify the source of that picture. However, regardless of whether it did come from Maui or not, it is a actual photo that was taken during one of these events. And that is exactly what they did here. And that is the reason why there was so much carnage, so much destruction. You know, how in the world could they not contain this fire? So the media is going to, of course, portray this as it was high winds from Hurricane Dora that, led to the fire getting out of control. It was a power line that went down that caused the fire. But what are the odds that this would happen in 3 or 4 different locations across the state? Because we had fires on the Big Island and Maui and Oahu as well. And, if you remember Hurricane Iniki, power lines went down all over the island during Hurricane Iniki, and it did not start fires like this that just completely melted cars and all of this madness, right? And so some of the other things that I want to point out too, like this particular video of Lahaina Harbor. I mean, what is going on here where you've got all of these boats and things that float? These are all boats in the harbor that are just on fire in the water. How does that even happen unless they were, hit with something? They were targeted. And let's see, over here, let's see, what is this? No, that's not what I'm looking for.
This one.
Okay, so this one is really important, guys. This is probably the most important thing that I wanted to share with you guys. And that is what's going on here. The reason why the fires are so out of control is because they were spraying us with aluminum and barium, putting particles into the air to act as an accelerant right before this happened. And so this video that I'm going to share with you was taken the day before this happened. And you can...
Anyone know what this white film that's covering the whole island? Like, am I the only one that sees this, or do you guys see something too?
She's saying, does anybody know what this white film is that is covering the whole island? And she's taking a video the day before these fires.
It's like this, like a white film in the air.
A white film in the air is
Covering the entire island.
so somebody sent that to me August 7th, 2023. She took this video.
I'm gonna stop it there. So I don't want this to go on too much longer, but I do want to share with you the information about not only direct energy weapons, but weather modification. There is a company that changes the weather, and you can look it up, and I'm going to share with you the link. Okay, hold on, let's see here. Okay, first, this is from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and it says, in the late 1940s and 50s, many deemed the deliberate or the inadvertent alteration of atmospheric conditions by human activity, also known as weather modification, as a promise science of the future. This was in the 40s and 50s. So, here it is. Currently, the most common form of weather modification is cloud seeding, which is increasing rain or snow, usually for the purposes of local water supply. Anyway, here is also a company called Weather Modification Incorporated. When most people look up, they see clouds. We see potential, and their programs and services. Weather modification has a wide range of services to provide knowledge, data, equipment, and capability at any phase in your project. We also tailor a program to meet your specific objectives and manage it from beginning to end. Yeah, so is that crazy? Yes, it is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. There's weather modification right there. Proof. Now we're going to go to direct energy weapons. In 1931, Tesla, and this is from pbs.org. This is from pbs.org. I'm going to put all these links in the description. 1931, Tesla announced to reporters at a press conference that he was on the verge of discovering an entirely new source of energy. Asked to explain the nature of the power, he replied, "The idea first came upon me as a tremendous shock. I can only say at this time it will come from an entirely new and unsuspecting source." And it's called a death beam. And on July 11th of 1931, the headline on the front page of the New York Times read, "Tesla at 78 bars new death beam." The article reported that the new invention will send concentrated beams of particles through the free air of such tremendous energy that they will bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy airplanes at a distance of 250 miles. I just want you guys to know this technology has been going on since World War II. That's how long ago this started. Okay, so the next thing I want to share is an eyewitness person, a person who was in direct, who worked on this technology.
We're here to talk about Raytheon Technologies Corporation. Raytheon is an aerospace company that provides advanced systems and services for commercial, military, and government customers worldwide. Probed for corruption in government contracting since 1980s. You were in the South Pole from 2010 to 2011. Let's talk about what you were doing down there.
You got it.
What were you doing down there?
I was contracted for the summer season as a plumber. I did well enough in my summer season to garner a winter contract as well, which got me my full year's stay. I was also tasked with being a firefighter. I was a lead on the firefighting team, and because of that dual role capacity, I physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility. I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured. That was a rare position to be in.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet.
Like what?
Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get into their vocabulary fast. The ice cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit. There are embedded in the ice, what are called digital optical modules, DOMs. They're about the size of a basketball. The array embedded in the ice is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It is the world's largest telescope. And now, because we have proven that it can transmit, it's the world's largest directed energy weapons system.
So I'm going to leave the link in the description so you guys can watch the whole thing. There's some other things that I do want to share, but I don't know, I can't remember, and this video is going to be long, but Governor Green talked about curfew, and I'm not sure if I hit on that when the interview that he was talking, when he was interviewed, he said, oh, there's going to be a curfew. I think I might have already talked about this, but I wanted to make sure. He's saying that because he's going to get people used to rules like that. He's going to get, we were already conditioned with the mandates, which are not laws. When you're a free citizen, you actually have to agree to be mandated. That's why we have a constitution. They cannot be mandated. That's why every single person who was arrested, who stood their ground that they did nothing wrong, all charges were dropped. But when Governor Green said curfew, that kind of perked up my ears, and I was like, oh, they're going to start getting people used to having to obey these rules. Not Pono. So I don't want to, we're not done yet. So let me, and again, what our steps are, what our actions are, is there's a link below with all of the representatives, senators, and Green. Contact them, tell them, look deeper into this, look in deeper into what happened. This is not about climate change. I want to talk about climate change. Let's go to climate change. Ian Plimer, pause him for a second because I want to tell you who he is. He is an Australian geologist and professor emeritus at the University of Melbourne, Australia. That's who this guy is.
Emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. It's never been shown scientifically. And I have asked and asked and asked for this information. I've been searching the literature. I cannot find it. So the whole fundamentals are wrong. And if we look back in time, and as someone who does deal with history and archaeology and geology, we've never had a correlation between temperature and carbon dioxide. There's never been climate change driven by carbon dioxide. All we see is the exact opposite. And the opposite is we've had 6 great ice ages, each of which kicked off when we had more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than now. So it's obvious carbon dioxide does not and cannot drive global warming. And so the past tells us what's happening in the present and what will happen in the future. And
I want to show this guy who is a scientist, MIT scientist. I think that's this one. Yep, he's an MIT scientist, and this is from the Boston Globe. And look that up. I'll have the link below.
If one asks about, is the temperature increasing or decreasing? It's always doing one or the other. I have no concern about that. By asking people to worry about whether it's going up or down, you're immediately establishing dishonesty. The earth is always changing. Climate change is nothing you have to prove. It always is happening. It always has happened. So to make that into something alarming seems to me a little bit weird.
So I want to share Greg Braden, who is a geologist, scientist, and spiritual teacher. And he is going to share the graph, the absolute graph you can see for thousands of years.
Seeing anything on your screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Mm-hmm.
All right, good. So what this is, I'm going to move this around a little bit. It's something you don't see very often, is carbon dioxide levels in geologic history. And what you're seeing on the far right is today. Now, our levels, are they higher than they have been in the last 100 years? Yes, they are. We're being led to believe that they have never been higher, that Earth is going to be destroyed if they are any higher, and we're being led to believe that these are driving temperatures higher than they've ever been, both of which are not true. So, first of all, you can see carbon dioxide levels have been much higher. This is the black line you're seeing.
Right.
And I'm not sure if if I'm moving our little pictures around, are you seeing that on your screen?
No, nothing's moving.
Okay, good. So I don't know if I'm blocking the image or not. But if you're looking, I mean, our carbon dioxide levels are actually very low compared to where they have been in geologic history.
Sure.
We go back into the in the Triassic period, for example. It's the purple right there between 200 and 250 million years. You can see it was much higher. The Devonian period to the far left. One of the most, probably the best known eras in our past or periods is the Cretaceous period, right there.
Right, yeah,
it's in the green, 100 million years. So I want just to use this as an example. Those carbon dioxide levels were over 3 times higher than they are right now. They were up a little over 800, almost 1,000 parts per million for parts of that. What was the Cretaceous period like? It was an extreme greening on the earth. Forests emerged and new forms of life, a lot of flowering plants, for example, and large mammals. But look at this. When those CO2 levels dropped drastically, brought an end to the Cretaceous, and this is the danger. John, a lot of people aren't talking about if Earth's CO2 levels drop below 184 parts per million, that seems to be the threshold where we're in trouble, because the forests of the Earth thrive on the CO2. We cut that CO2. If CO2 drops to those levels, we are actually cutting off the very life force that is providing the oxygen on the planet. So we don't want to do that, and young people are not getting that message at all. So I think there's a way. Oh, go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a couple of things that need to be said about this. First of all, then this kind of information is extracted from the ice cornings in the Bloodstock in Antarctica and then in Greenland.
Right.
He just said that this information is from the ice blocks that are in Antarctica and Greenland. So it's a history of the Earth in the ice.
It's all of the information that they extracted was on this graph. What you would see is that the temperatures increase or decrease somewhere typically about 800 years before this carbon dioxide changes.
Right.
And what that means is the carbon dioxide does not drive the change. It is the response from the temperature change.
A bit.
So basically what he said was that carbon dioxide doesn't drive the change. It's actually the symptom of the change. So he said that the temperatures start to change 800 years before the carbon dioxide level changes. So this whole thing about carbon is not true. It's a load of poop for them to release their agenda, which is to create these smart cities, which is more control, more and more control. And then the last part I'm going to share is Levana Loma and her little insights, and then we'll be good.
And so you have to read this because it talks all about what is happening in our government and how they are using this technology to wage silent wars against the people. And it's very real and it's very much happening. It's not just conspiracy theory. We are under attack, and there's far too many. The more that I think about this, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, do I really want to even get out there and talk about this? Because it just sounds so crazy, right? But the truth of it is, it's really crazy that they think that we're going to believe that any of this is natural or normal, and that what happened on Maui was just a terrible, natural disaster tragedy that we weren't able to prevent and stop from happening. It's crazy to actually believe that. And it's obvious that there was something more to this. There's much more to the story. This is not normal. It is not natural. We are under attack, and it's time for people to do their research and look into this stuff and realize just how plausible and real it actually is. So with that, guys, yes, I'm going to.
All right, now the last two parts for Levana Loma, right here.
from Maui. And again, right here, we've got all these trees with perfect leaves, like untouched, and then everything just right in the center of that completely destroyed. You know, like, how does that even happen? How does that even happen unless it was something like pinpointed, directed, explosive, just completely obliterated everything in that one little concentrated area. It's really wild, and we've got people that made reports of hearing explosions, which of course that could be gas tanks and whatnot, things exploding. But again, you guys, this is just, there's too many unanswered questions as to how this is even possible. Our chairman of the board used to work in the fire department in San Francisco for over 30 years, and he can attest from what he's experienced that there's just no way, and there's no way that it was natural. It's absolutely impossible that this was a natural disaster.
And then the last part for Lavana, as I want to share this last part, 1852.
Definitely a land grab, and if you think about the way these corporations have been coming in and buying out small businesses in Lahaina, it's like they have no problem with all of this being destroyed. They've got the money; they can afford to completely rebuild, and so who knows exactly what the motive is here, but there's definitely suspicion and reason to believe that there's an agenda behind this. And when you put all the pieces together, it starts to make a lot more sense when you understand, the intent for this Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, plans for sustainable development, and the climate change agenda, and how they're trying to scare everyone into this idea that we have to comply with their Agenda 21 plans. Otherwise, we're all going to die because of climate change. They're going to create events like this in order to put fear in people to accept their agenda.
So like I said, I don't know if reaching out to these representatives and senators is going to do any good, but I know that I have to tell them for myself that I know what they're doing, and their information is below. If you are someone in Maui who has lost everything, the beginning part of this video said do not sign FEMA paperwork. Don't sign anything that you have not read. And again, like I said, I have been to the Paradise Fire. It looks exactly like Maui. In fact, my mom texted me and said, it looks like paradise. I said, yeah, because it's direct energy weapons, and now they're going to blame it on climate change. They're going to try and turn it into a smart city, 15-minute city. And that's not Pono. It's not okay. We don't have to go there. So the other thing I want to say is, trust in a higher power. This is a game, and it sucks right now in a really big way. Loss of life is not a game, and my heart sinks when I think about what people have gone through. I cannot imagine. But there's a higher power at play. I don't know what the game is. I don't know how it ends, but I know that we come together. We stand in our power. We do what we can do, and we let go of the rest, and we give that up to that higher power, which is the same power that's beating our heart and breathing our bodies and moving the tides in the ocean and running the sun across the sky. So I send you all so much love and so much aloha from the Big Island, and we will get through this. We will get through this. Much love.